Am I the asshole for asking my fiancé to do most of the wedding planning? Throwaway and on mobile. My fiancé, 32 male, and I, 29 female, recently got engaged and are hoping to get married in 2022. I have asked my fiancé to take on the bulk of wedding planning and he thinks I'm an asshole for not taking on more of the work. I'll help make decisions and coordinate day of, but I don't want to have to do the research to find vendors or handle little details. We're paying for this ourselves, so a planner isn't an option. The main reason I don't want to plan the wedding is that I don't particularly want a wedding at all. I would love to just elope with the two of us, but he wants a traditional wedding. I've asked if he would compromise on things like having a ceremony just the two of us and then a party after, but he won't budge. Most aspects of a wedding are things that I either don't enjoy or are things that make me really uncomfortable. Walking down the aisle and saying personal vows in front of people I don't really know? Very uncomfortable. Father-daughter dance? Not going to happen since my dad isn't in the picture. Dancing? Hate it. Drinking? Nope, I've been sober for 9 years this summer. Maid of honor speech? Won't have one since I don't have a maid of honor. Most of my close friends are abroad and won't be able to make it anyway. Having to make sure everyone is having a good time? Not my idea of a good time for myself. I also asked my fiancé why he wants a traditional wedding so much and he said that he wants to experience having a best man speech, hanging out with his friends and getting ready, and having his best friends next to him at the altar. He wants to party and drink with them like he has done at their weddings. All the reasons he wants a wedding revolve around him and his friends, not the idea that it would be nice to celebrate our relationship. I pointed this out to him and this upset him. I won't deny him his dream wedding, which is why I've backed down on eloping, but I don't think I should have to plan this, especially when I'm dreading it so much. Never mind the fact that I work full-time in a very stressful job and am in grad school. He is on admin leave right now, so he's getting paid to hang out at home and has more bandwidth for this than I do.
Not the asshole. He wants the traditional wedding, he can plan it. And you can still do all the things he listed. Best man speech, stag party, hanging out and getting ready. With a 10-person wedding or less.
Not the asshole. I think it's perfectly fair for him to do the majority of the planning when he's the one that wants the traditional wedding. And I really think it's a good point that the reasons he wants it are about him and his friends rather than y'all. I definitely see why you don't want any part of it, especially if you're really not going to have those same experiences yourself, maid of honor speech, etc.
Not the asshole. If he wants it so bad, he has to plan it. And the fact that he wants these things for his friends, and not the person he's marrying, puts up some red flags for me.
If you're dreading your wedding day, then cancel it. Not the asshole.
Not the asshole. Sounds like this wedding is for him and his mates, not you two. Shame he can't marry them. Location flag, location flag, location flag, location flag, location flag, location flag.
Not the asshole. He's the one who wants the traditional wedding ceremony, he can plan it. Though it really sounds like he wants the whole traditional aspect of it, where the bride stereotypically does all the work and the groom just shows up for the party and best man speech. You may want to ask him what other sexist throwback ideas he has about marriage and or kids before you walk down that aisle he wants you to decorate.
Everyone sucks here. Strange that you're both expecting the other to make concessions that neither of you wants, and it's simultaneously strange that neither of you are willing to make those concessions as a couple that wants to spend of your lives together. Sounds like the two of you have bigger problems you need to sort out before getting married. I would love to just elope with the two of us, but he wants a traditional wedding. Not the asshole. He wants a traditional wedding. You've gritted your teeth and agreed despite your own feelings. He can plan it. He's an asshole for expecting you to plan something he knows you don't want, especially when he's the one with the time to do it.
Yo, not for nothing, but forget about being on the same page as each other. You don't even seem to be in the same book together. Real talk, but if you have such a massive clash in culture and values regarding your wedding, I would be more concerned that you haven't had discussions or are in agreement about other major issues such as finances, kids, and the like. You're not the asshole for not wanting a wedding, though you kind of seem like a bit of a wet blanket or a fun burglar, but if you haven't set up an agreed upon level of expectation as to your nuptials next year, I would be concerned that the same applies for everything post-wedding.
Not the asshole, but I would be curious if their roles were reversed. I imagine we would see way more responses about him needing to participate, etc. I certainly had zero interest with any aspect of planning but participated in all of it because it meant a lot to my spouse and wasn't that hard. Same thing, we planned and paid for all it. Seems like compromise on both sides is warranted. Tailor down the wedding but at least give your input on stuff. He should separate the bachelor's party planning and do that himself. As a couple, plan the wedding and reception. Have him take the lion's share, but there's gotta be aspects of a wedding you can handle that help make it less daunting.
Nah. It's fine for him to want a big wedding, but I get why you don't want to take part. Treat this as an exercise in marital compromise and meet in the middle. Sit down together and make a budget, then assign that budget to all the areas of the wedding and split those areas up. Also, you have time. Reach out to your best friend and get them to come for the wedding. Pay the ticket if you have to. You sound uncomfortable with the wedding idea, so having a best friend trip might give you a boost, and will give you support at the wedding.
I don't mean to sound condescending by asking, but have you ever sought therapy? I only ask because you have been through a lot. Loss of father, recovery from alcohol, friends so far away. It sounds like the idea of a traditional wedding is bringing these things up for you. Even if you don't partake in the wedding planning, you will still have to obviously participate in the day. I would just offer that seeking the support through this whole process may be beneficial for you, not just for now but over the course of your life together. I hope again that I didn't come off as condescending by saying this, but I just think marriage might just be the beginning of a lot of these old emotions resurfacing. Wishing you all the best. Not the asshole. And do not marry this man. He is after an event, not celebrating you being connected for life. Sorry. Good luck. Not the asshole. He wants something you don't want, so he should take over the planning. There seems to have been no compromise on his side. He wants the whole shebang, then that's on him.
Y'all are getting married and you can't even agree on how to do so? You might find premarital counseling helpful. It can either help you to figure out how to get on the same page, or it'll help you discover that you aren't a good match.
Info. Was he aware of your stance on weddings before you got engaged? And were you aware of his? He is on admin leave right now, so he's getting paid to hang out at home and has more bandwidth for this than I do. This is the only part that matters. Otherwise, I'd say you're tar. It doesn't matter if you don't want a wedding. This is the equivalent of saying, I don't care if the house is clean, but you do, so you do all the cleaning. Help with your wedding. Geez. Since he's home more, he can do most of the research and planning, but you need to help at least a little.
I'm surprised everyone saying nada is only blaming fiancé. I agree with a lot of points, but I can imagine it's also extremely discouraging for the fiancé for his bride to not want to be involved with them planning their day at all. I would rather elope and my fiancé wants a big wedding because it's our day, not just mine or his. We had a good conversation and talked about what we wanted most from a wedding and are planning together to make a wedding we both love, a medium-sized wedding with people we both care about and less fanfare, but my point is we're working together as a couple to make sure we both like the day. I can imagine my fiancé wanting literally nothing to do with the planning would be extremely disheartening. Info. It doesn't sound like either of you want to plan a wedding. You don't really want a wedding. Is the wedding really the important thing to him? As you mentioned, it sounds like the last hurrah with his buddies is the important thing. Discuss him taking a weekend trip with his buddies. It still takes planning and money, but far less planning and money than a typical wedding. And of course discuss a similar trip for you with your friends or an activity you would enjoy.
Not the asshole. He wants the big day, he plans it. He has the time right now, he plans it. Honestly, if he budges on nothing, that's a bit concerning. Your wedding is about the two of you, not his friends.
You are the asshole because you are judging him for wanting to enjoy the part of the wedding which involves enjoying time with his friends. People want traditional weddings because ideally you will only have one. I kinda get that he is a bit disheartened that you're openly taking no interest and kind of giving him the ultimatum that unless he does pretty much all of the planning, he doesn't get one. If the genders were swapped, I can guarantee you wouldn't be getting the same response on here that you are getting now. Weddings are brutally hard to plan, and I don't think it's unfair for him to want you to put a bit more effort into something that is clearly so important to him, the person you intend to spend the rest of your life with.
Not the asshole. You did the courteous thing and said he could have it if he wants and he just has to plan it. But might I suggest getting involved in the reception planning just a bit? You might find some creative ideas for the reception that might make it a bit more fun for you, so that way you can give yourself something to look forward to about it.
Not the asshole. If he's the one who wants the wedding most, he should be the one doing most of the planning. I don't see why you should have to do most of the planning for a wedding you don't even want to have. Don't have a wedding you dread.
Info. Why don't you like dancing?
You're definitely not the asshole. If anything, he sounds like a mega asshole, and a selfish one at that. Seems like quite a few red flags to me, but to each their own. Good luck marrying that.
Not the asshole. Are you sure you want to marry this guy? He's not the asshole just for wanting the traditional wedding, but he takes a sharp left into assholeville when he both refuses to compromise on this wedding and insists that you, the person who doesn't want the traditional wedding, plan it. None of this fills me with optimism for conflict resolution once you're married.
Not the asshole. Nothing wrong with him wanting to have these moments with his friends at this wedding, but what is the issue is that he is prioritizing this over you and is even centering the wedding around them and not your union. Will his friends factor into all your major decisions once you're married?
Not the asshole. You have already compromised a lot by letting him have a wedding that makes him happy but makes you uncomfortable. It's unreasonable and unfair for him to expect you to do most of the labor for something that only he wants. I would suggest pre-marital counseling. It's concerning that he is completely dismissing your wants and then expecting you to do most of the labor, when it's about his friends and not celebrating your relationship.
Not the asshole, but I want to point out to people raging the groom that if the genders were reversed and a guy said he didn't want to help plan the wedding, I think there would be a lot of you are the asshole responses.
He wants the wedding. He should plan it. Not the asshole. Fiancé. We are going to do this my way, but you're gonna do the planning so that I can have the wedding that I want. Op. I really don't wish to do a lot of planning for something I don't really want. But I'll help you with the big decisions for our day. Fiancé. How dare you refuse to plan something you do not want? Not the asshole your fiancé kind of is though, for not even being willing to compromise with you, and prioritizing his desires above yours, regarding a day that is supposed to be about the both of you.
Nah, this might not be popular, but he's allowed to want a partner who will actively be interested in the wedding. I guess it's something he's excited about? Are you sure he's only excited about boy time and not actually saying vows, etc.? You're also allowed to not be involved. Maybe you could take more of an active interest and he can accept how much you're willing to give towards planning.
I wish you had posted this without genders so all of these commenters could get their bias checked.
Not the asshole. Also, you for real may want to go to couples counseling to make sure this is the right marriage for you. Your description makes him sound like a jerk, but given that I recognize that A. You're venting here and B. It's just your side of the story, I don't want to assume that. You might just need to make sure you're both getting married for the right reasons.
Oof. Not the asshole for sure. You've already made your compromise by agreeing to participate in his glowing star dream wedding. Glowing star, if I were in your shoes, and had agreed to the wedding cus I probably wouldn't, I would want no involvement save for showing up. Not the asshole. I am concerned though that this whole wedding thing is not a compromise that you are both making, it's just you sacrificing. I'm also concerned because his reasoning revolves around himself and his buddies.
Not the asshole. Honestly, I have to say that none of this sounds like it's going to lead to a happy marriage. Starting with the fact that you're sober, congratulations by the way, and he wants the party so he can drink. Having one person sober in a marriage isn't the easiest thing ever. Second, the fact that you won't really have any friends or family at the party means it will be you by yourself the entire time while he hangs out with his friends. The pictures will wind up with him happy and you bored, which will ruin it for you every time you see them. That said, I wish you two the best, I truly do.
Not the asshole. But why even argue about it? Just don't do any of the planning if you don't want to. If it doesn't get done, win-win. Let him do the legwork if he's so invested in it. Not the asshole. You're planning to marry a man who prioritized partying with friends over your own feelings of comfort and happiness. Imagine your wedding where you have none of the perks he's insistent on having for himself. This is not an isolated weirdsie. Think long and hard about whether you want to commit yourself to a man who thinks this way. Imagine your future when he prioritizes them over you, kids, etc. This is extra arse-holic because he doesn't need a wedding to do these things. He can have a bachelor party. They can give speeches. He can dress up with his friends and have a fancy night out.
Not the asshole, but he has failed the no test. Think long and hard if this is the relationship you want. If he wants the big party, he needs to plan it. Do you want to be stuck in a gendered relationship? Where you take care of most of the house and any childcare? No test, article. Not the asshole, this is his wedding, not you as a couple wedding. If he wants it, he can plan it. But if you two are that far apart in the dynamics of a wedding, how far apart are you on other aspects of married life, children, families, etc.? Might want to give that a thought.
Not the asshole. Tell him the wedding you will plan with be an elopement. If he doesn't want that, then he needs to get over his sexist ideas and plan the wedding.
Not the asshole, but you guys need to have a serious conversation. He's putting essentially partying with his buds over your happiness and comfort. What exactly is this man contributing to the relationship?
My wife and I were in a similar situation. She wanted a great party along with a short ceremony. We compromised. She did all of the research and presented me options. I would choose from those. The only other thing I did was help with seating arrangements and my addition to the table toppers. I decided to do geek-themed tables. One for Star Trek, Star Wars, Aliens, Big Lebowski, etc. Plus, I got to buy a lot of stuff I wanted to collect anyways. So win-win. This worked well. She got things she wanted, and when there was a choice to be made that she didn't want to deal with, I did it from a set of options. We've also found this to be a pretty good trick for making other decisions. Like what to do for the weekend, what to have for dinner, etc. Best of luck to you. Edit. Not the asshole. Okay, everyone needs to chill. I know plenty of brides that insist on the big traditional wedding while the grooms are not thrilled about it, and no one calls red flag on the bride. Everyone laughs it off like, haha, classic bride. In many cases, their marriages have been fine. IOBV don't know from an insider's perspective, but to me they look good, and it has at least lasted a few years. This is just a gender flip situation. As for you, you are definitely not the asshole. Neither my husband nor I particularly wanted a big thing, but our parents did, so we sucked it up and planned it 50-50, and we had a great day. In your case, you have a partner who wants the big wedding. Great. He gets to put work into it. You just lay back and let him plan it, girl. Get a bride outfit you like and call it a day. Not the asshole. You are incompatible.
In reality, it's either everyone sucks here or no assholes here, because you are both being stubborn and not willing to bend for each other in some ways, and that's not a good way to start a marriage. If I was in your position, I wouldn't want to marry him, and if I was in his position, I wouldn't want to marry you.
Not the asshole. This belongs in relationship advice, not AITA. You guys need to come to terms with what you want as a couple. My wife and I personally eloped, married by JUP, then flew to Caliph. And had a party with my family, flew to Penzi, had a party with her family. We saved a lot of money, but my wife still kinda wants a ceremony. We might renew our vows later, but we came to an agreement about what we wanted as a couple.
Ha 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 ha. Reminds me of my mum and her partner 15 years ago, after 15 years together. He didn't even propose. Just said in a whiny voice one night, "Why don't we get married?" She said, "Sure, yeah. You organize it, I'll be there." Married twice before. Another time he said it, she also said the quiet part out loud. After all, that's the surefire way to see it never happens. 30 years together and no nearer marriage, and no idea why they are still together except for codependency. Is that you two plus a few decades?
Weddings usually require compromise on both sides, since it's very rare that a couple has the exact same vision for their day. My husband wanted to get married in the Redwoods in California. I wanted 20 people in an all-white loft in NYC. We both had to let go of that and ended up finding something we loved as a team. Neither of us got the wedding we pictured before we met, but I wouldn't have it any other way because our day encapsulated us and our story perfectly. I urge you to sit down with your fiancé and find a middle ground. If you can't compromise on this, a party, how will you compromise on the really important things when they come up? Not the asshole, and please keep us updated if you can.